In today's tutorial I'm going to show you entrelac in a rectangle, and the reason for this is actually pretty obvious, and I'll explain that in just a moment. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to be working on a tutorial where it's entrelac in a rectangle. Now entrelac in a rectangle allows you to go in a complete circle around and around but maintain a rectangular shape. So what I've done for you is that I'm going to explain something to you in just a moment, because most people when they have thinking about entrelac, beds are usually not square, and so most people would like to do an entrelac bedspread, but how do you do it and still continue to go around in a circle? Even though you physically cannot see it because I used the same color, this is actually done in a round circle like it would be if it was square. The only difference is on how I started in order to make it a rectangular shape right away. So many years ago I decided to do this granny square blanket for my twin bed of the truck that I was driving, and what I realized is that I had to figure out for the granny square, or actually it was a granny rectangle I should say, is that I had to figure out how far do I need to go in the center in order to allow me to go in a complete circle around and around and still maintain the shape of the twin size mattress that was in the truck. Now the reality is that I made the center too big, and so what happened is by the time I got to the width that I had almost like a mattress and a half of Afghan going in this direction, even though I'd only got the proper width in this direction. So what I've done for you today is that I have figured out exactly what you need to do in order to match it. So what I figured out is what is the ratio of the number of boxes that you need going in the lengthwise versus the widthwise. And so when I'm giving you this information, what I'm giving you is that the distance of this here, so that you can continue to rotate all the way around, get this perfectly in line as well as this at the same time by getting the proper number of boxes. So to make your life easier, I figured out what is the ratio of the number of boxes or squares that you are going to need going in this direction so that you can safely wrap all the way around. Now on screen I'm gonna switch it right now, and there will be a graphic on there to tell you how many squares that you need to go in the lengthwise in order to work. You should know that every square is consisting of 10 chains in order to complete it. So let me put some happy little music and show you what that information is. Now on screen is a rough diagram, and these are for doing the particular entrelac in the rows. And so rows, basically the sides are all going to be flat, so you don't have you have a missing triangle on one side, so you have a flat edge. So what we're doing with the rectangle is that we are totally subtracting that off, we're subtracting this off, and we're concentrating on just these boxes. It takes 10 chains to make each one of these boxes on its own. So you can determine how many chains that you would like to do based on the amount of boxes that you would like to go across. So for example, say you're doing an Afghan that's custom size or a throw that you really want, you have to keep in mind that because of the bend of the chain, so if you go to chain 10 and you stretch it out like this, you have to realize that it does come down, so it's actually gonna come back in once it starts to bend down, and you just have to take that into consideration. And final one last note before we start with the tutorial, you should know that the information in the boxes is actually very subjective to you. So for example, this is a larger box in comparison to other work that we have on the side, and the reality is that the number of boxes is a ratio, so it will work out for you regardless of the hook size or the yarn that you choose. Now if we remember in the Tunisian series that when we go to use this, we always have to move up the size hook, the Afghan hook versus the yarn. So this is calling for a 6.5mm size K crochet hook, but of course with Tunisian we have to significantly increase that. Today's tutorial I'm using a 10mm size N crochet hook for the beginning, just like this. So you can also just change your yarns out and your hook, and you'll still have the directions and it will still work out for you. So you just have to take a look at your yarn bow and determine what works for you. So we're about to get started, and this is very similar to the entrelac in the square. The only difference is that we're establishing the number of boxes in the lengthwise so that it's a multiple more than just one, so that we can go all the way around it. So once we get that established, you can just refer to the other instructions for going all the way around. So what we want to do is that we want to insert our hook now, and remember what I just said already is that 10 stitches equals 1 box. So if I want to do the queen size, I want 2 boxes, that means it's 20. So let's do that. So we're just gonna start. Remember, the one already on the hook does not count as 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's officially 1 box. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So there is my 2 boxes there, and even though the chain is this wide right now, because it's gonna be dipping down and coming back up to match the corners, it's actually gonna be a lot more narrower when we get to there, when we get to that point. So let's begin our first box. To begin our first box, we want to skip to the second chain from the hook, turn it over and get the back loop only, just like this, and grab the yarn, pull up and shift it down the shaft. So this shaft is thicker down here than it is here, so you do want to shift it down so that you get the right amount of tension. So we want to do this for the next 6 or for the next 5. So we just got 1 already, and you need a total count of 7 loops on your hook. So you can either count over, or you can just keep doing this until you see 7. So there's 5 and 6 and 7. So there is the base of one of the boxes. So what you're physically looking at is actually the box like this in the upward position. So let's begin our first one. So we're going to start off with it. We're going to chain 1 first. So we're just gonna pull it through the first loop, and now for the rest of it we're gonna yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we do that all the way until we have 1 loop back. Okay, so we're now going to begin the Tunisian simple stitch. The simple stitch is very simple. See these vertical strands right here? You want to slip in behind and out the other side, yarn over and pull through. And you want to do that for each one of the ones that you can find. And how many should there be? There should be a total of, what is it? Yes, that's right. There's gonna be a total of 7. So right now we have 6, and the 7th is actually the next loop on the chain. Just like there. Okay, so the 7th is the next loop on the chain. So let's just yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. Okay, does that make sense? So let's begin again. We're gonna insert to the first one, pull through, and keep doing this until how many is on there? That's right, 7. So here's 5, 6, and the next one is right over here. It's the next chain that's available to you, and that's your 7th. Okay, yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 and 2, and you keep doing that all the way back. You want a total of 5 rows high. Right now you only see 3, so you can count the vertical lines 1, 2, and 3. So just continue to insert as a simple stitch across again, yarning over. Okay, so you have your 6, so your 7th is the next chain. Okay, yarn over, pull through 1, and yarn over and pull through 2, 2, and 2 all the way back. Now your work will start curling up just like you see it here on screen. That's normal. That's part of the characteristics of Tunisian. So let's count up. So we have 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th. We gotta go 1 more. So we're gonna slip back across with a simple stitch. Okay. Okay, there's your 6th and your 7th is on the chain. So yarn over, pull through 2, or pull through 1 and then pull through 2, 2. So here's the thing, we need to fasten off at this point, but we're not gonna trim our yarn at all. Okay, so there's your first box. So we're just going to slip behind like a simple stitch, going through, pull through and through. Okay, so you do that each one and you're doing a bind off. Now you wanna make sure that the tension is really loose here, because you're gonna eventually have to come back into that same stitch later on. If you make it tight, you're never gonna get your hook back in there. Plus it's gonna make your work it's gonna wreck your work. So your final one, when you go all the way back, is the same one of the last one here. Okay, so your final bind off is the same stitch, so you don't want to move up the chain at this particular point, and that's your first box complete. So when you're looking at it, this is how you should look at it, as like a diamond shape like this. So let's move along to the next box. So let's begin the next box. We simply just go back to the chain and we collect 6. Okay, because the loop that is already on here right here equals 7. So the magic number is 7. Okay, and you're not gonna use the entire chain because the rest of the chain we're gonna use to come back up the other side. Okay, so here is your 7 on there. So yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. So regardless on how many boxes that you need to do across, you gotta do the same thing each and every time. Okay, so yarn over, go through the first one right here, a simple stitch all the way back over, and there will be a total of 7. So you have your 6 right there, and then your next one is on the chain itself, which is your 7th. So you're looking for those vertical strings to give you indication to know where you are. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. So that whole yarn over, pull through 1 in the very beginning of when we're doing this boxes is the only time you're going to see it on this entire project. The rest of it, we don't worry about that. So yarn over, pull and go through as a simple stitch. So it's just establishing the height the very first time we do boxes, but going forward we will not have to worry about that. So go into the next chain. So we have our 6, go into the next chain, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so let's start again. We're looking for a total number of 5 rows. Okay, there is your 6. The next one is 7. Oh, so yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so I gotta count 1, 2, 3 and 4. So yarn over, pull through 1, okay, and we're going all the way across. We want to get into this final one here. This is the final stitch. Okay, yarn over, pull through 1, but we're not quite done yet, so you just have to stand by for a second. Let me show you. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, the 5 doesn't look finished, but we still have to do the bind off. Just like this. Okay, and then the final where you did the other one is right there. The bind off is the final stitch where you've already gone before. And now you can fasten off and finish off your colors, but the rest of this is exactly how you would do the entrelac in the square. You just have to fill in the spaces. So I'm gonna put a link on the video right now, and it'll fast forward you to the section that we're ready to go to show you be able to how to do this and going in a complete circle. So where do we start in the next one? Well, it's either or. Either way you have to do all the blocks anyway, but are you gonna start off by doing it so that you already have the L, or are you gonna do it with having to create the L. Either way, it doesn't matter. So just for speeding you up in tutorial reasons, I'm gonna start where there's already an L. And how we do that is that we're going to start off with a slip knot. So we're gonna come in, insert it into the hook here, and what we're going to do is that we're just gonna come into the very corner of the block. Okay, so just look at it here, right into the very corner, and just insert your hook in. Now if you bound off too tight, it'd be harder to get that hook in, but I was kind of generous with that. So I just want to fasten on. So just gonna pull through, and so that's the first one. So remember the bowling alley technique. This would be a gutter. There should be 5 pins, and then the next block should be the other gutter, which is number 7. So let's begin. We're just gonna insert into this block, okay, into each stitch coming across. Yarn over and pull and collect. And you do that all the way across the block. So this is just like you were to do it as if you were going across on the chain. Okay, and okay, so we've gone all the way across the top of the block. You can see the 5 pins that are there, and then we need to come to the joining block on the other side. So so look at it here. So you're here, this is part of this block. You need to go into this block here. Yarn over and pull through. So now we should have our 2 gutters and our 5 pins. You see that? Total 7. So yarn over and pull through 2 for all the way back. Okay, so let's begin again. So just like you did before, it's just a simple stitch, Tunisian simple stitch coming across. In abbreviations it's called TSS if you're ever looking for that Tunisian simple stitch. Coming all the way across, again moving up the block like you have already in the past. So this is basically filling in that space. So I'm just going back again. So I don't bother to count the rows. I physically count it when I think I have enough. My biggest thing when I first started doing Entrelac is that I was always creating one too many rows across. So I've gotten better just to visualize it and then physically count it and then just double check. So I'm coming back across again. I would say that the bigger yarn and the hook will make your project go faster. It doesn't always look great in the thinner yarns, but if you're looking for a relatively quick Afghan, I don't mind these things and it looks really amazing. So I want to count. So 1, 2, 3, and this is 4, so this must be the 5th that I'm about to start. Okay, and coming across to the next block. So this must be number 5. You can see it's almost close to the other size anyway. So that helps you give an indication. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just counting the grains up, and then just do a bind off. Again, don't be hard on yourself with making it more difficult. So we filled in the block when the L shape was there, but now we're ready for the next block, but there is no L. So remember that we have to bind off to the next block before we restart. So let's begin again. So you do not see an L shape right now, you just see a flat line, so we have to create that. So chaining a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And this is what you already know. Just second chain from the hook, start collecting, going back. Okay, you should have a total of 7, which includes the block that you're attaching to. Okay, there's your 5. This is 1 gutter, and then here's your 6, which is the block. Okay, and then just keep doing that all the way. So I'm gonna just get through this block, and then I'll meet you back up and start you on the next block, which is right down in here, which is, you can see the L is already there. So a few moments ago I left you and I wanted to finish this block off camera, which I did, and I just binding off now. So I'm making my way all the way down. I've got my 5 in there. and I'm making myself, and remember when we bind off all the way we go into the next block as well. So right into that block. So right now at this point is that I'm looking at it, do we see an L? Yes we do, we see it right here. So we only need to create the chain when we cannot see an L in the shape. So for example right now we have the very center point, so all these ones in the middle between the corners all have the L's there. It doesn't matter what size of afghan that you're on, each one in the middle will have that. So you just kind of like diamond, do a diamond shape all the way across basically. So we're going to start off and we're just going to start collecting the next set. Okay, so we're just going right into the block that already exists. Okay, and I want to make sure that I'm getting my 7. So 1 2 3 4. Okay, so I'm just collecting so that I get my 7 on there. Sometimes you gotta count. Just, it is what it is. So 3 4 and 5. Okay, and then I want to do it to the join right there. So there is my 7. Okay, yarn over and pull through 2. So these ones I like doing better than doing the chaining of 6. It's either way, it's no big deal. It's just a personal preference. So you just do it the same concept, just filling it in, doing your rows of 5 or 5 rows, coming all the way across and just joining it to the next section. So when I'm done this particular one here, I'm going to be at the top here. Again, there's not going to be an L, so I got to create it and then I'll be back down into the middles section. So hopefully you understand that it becomes really easy, and at the end of this particular round it's just like what you did before when we did the color, is that we get back to the center and when we finish off we're going to be at the point that will be in the middle of the invisible L again, and because of that we have to fasten off and restart. So you can either choose the same color and just fasten on to any of the particular points that you want to. You can either start off with an L or just create your own, it doesn't matter. Or you can change colors. Either way, do not slip stitch it to get yourself reset. It just will be very obvious within your work. So to reiterate one more time, so I just finished this last block. We're going to start the next. I don't see an L, so I need to create it by chaining a 6. 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. And so you simply just keep rotating around and around and around, and you'll end up with the perfect square as you go, and it does the most amazing look when you go to finish these. You can see that it just looks absolutely amazing once you get it going, and you can do the cutest little baby afghans with this particular concept as well. I've done a beautiful throw for my couch as well, so that's just something that you can consider for yourself. So it does an amazing look. Color transitional yarn is really quite delicious with this, and that's it. So we're gonna have another video coming up where I'm gonna show you how to do the borders and to fill it in, because most people don't like the jagged edge, like sawtooth kind of look. They prefer it to be filled in, and that's coming up in a future tutorial. So here's a completed example of what I have. This is actually called the Entrelac in the rectangle, where you can see that I've created a panel that is not square by starting it off differently in the center in order to make it not square. And it's actually pretty easy when you can think about it. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of Yarnspirations as well as the crochetcrowd.com. We'll see ya.